Thank you very much. Thank you for your help.
Notice the Steadicam camera footage here.
You shouldn't have bothered. Oh, dear. I'm too honored. You do me too much honor, Mr. President. You do me too much honor. You do me too much honor. It is
to see you, Boris.
It is amazing to see you.
Welcome.
How are you? Very, very good. Very, very good. Great to see you. It's an absolute honor to...
We got all our camera crews out here. We got our Steadicams. Watch as they go inside and sit down at the desks. And I mean, like, what?
Where did he think he was going? He said, oh, you shouldn't have bothered. Like, oh, you came, Mr. President. Like, who did he think he was meeting with?
And he only knew he could start talking like half a block away because he was mic'd up with a lapel microphone.
Right. It's all staged. It's all theater. Right. Good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, or a boom mic or something. He's got a lapel microphone on or a boom mic, and they've got steady cams. Like, they got the whole theater production out there for them to show up. Then watch as he walks into they go into the office building. Then they're sitting down at the desk here. You can see them sitting down. And after they shake hands and they're getting down to business, he's got his portfolio. I love that all these cameras are there. But what power does he have to even be there? He's not prime minister anymore. Boris is something of a harbinger because every time there's some kind of talk of peace, Ukraine coming to the table to the end of the war, Boris flies in and torpedoes
with combed hair. Effort. This is also weird.
Well, I think it's just damp because the sleet. The sleet and the rain.
Look at all the positive stuff Winston Churchill did when he wasn't prime minister. You know what I mean? Like, he still was kind of active, doing some things. And
okay, but he didn't bring peace the last time.
His country.
Maybe. So I think that Boris is something of a harbinger because every time there's some talk of peace, Ukraine coming to the table to end the war, Boris flies in and torpedoes the peace effort. Do you know the word harbinger? Do you know what it means, right? It means a person or a thing that signals the start of something.
It's a canary in a coal mine.
It could be good or bad, a harbinger of bad things to come or good things to come. But for Boris, it's a harbinger of more bloodshed. Every time that Boris shows up, peace disappears. More weapons suddenly appear inside of Ukraine. So what the hell is he doing there? He's not prime minister anymore. Meanwhile, a lot of people are dying. A new report from Germany today says that Ukraine is losing three-digit numbers of soldiers per day. That's hundreds of people per day.
In fact, yes, the German Federal Intelligence Service finds this alarming. Now, this comes at a day when the West is everyone's irked by Germany not wanting to continue to send the heaviest, dutiest, if that's a word, weapons. And they're saying, we're a little disturbed by all the dying. We all should be. Yeah. So maybe we don't want to send these Leopard tanks because so many people are dying. There's an idea. Imagine that idea. And that's because all of these weapons being sent in by NATO. And so these people are being turned into cannon fodder. So next to the Civil War part of the story. So that's the German death toll. That's Boris flying in. Now to the Civil War part of the story. Top advisor to Zelensky, Alexei Arestovich, is now out of power and he's unshackled. Now, you remember Arestovich, he was the guy that told the truth about the apartment bombing in Dnipro about a week ago, how it was Ukraine's fault. He was forced out of office for telling the truth. And now he's spilling the beans on a number of big topics, including civil war, Zelensky. But first, he talks about the failure of the Ukraine military. And in an interview this weekend, Arestovich says it's unlikely that Ukraine will win this war. Now, I apologize. He's speaking in Ukrainian. It's subtitled. I'm not going to speak over him, but I will paraphrase it once we're done playing this clip. If you're driving and you want to hear it later, I'll explain it, but roll it. Apologize, right? But I think that anybody who wants to... Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, if I was that guy, I would avoid standing near any windows. I would publicly say, I don't stand near windows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you didn't see a window in that he's behind cement walls, windowless cement walls. But again, the people who would call us a Russian apologist wouldn't really know what it is they're standing on behalf of for Ukraine, other than a media narrative of independence. Earlier, when I posted the live show, someone in the chat before the show started posted a comment, says, well, about civil war. Well, didn't the war in Ukraine start as a civil war? No. I mean, it started as a genocide. That's what it started as. I mean, that's how it started for the past 8 years, the people of the Donbass being killed on a regular basis, tens of thousands of them being attacked.
So that's how it started. It didn't start with any sort of like back and forth fighting at all. To me, one of the biggest parts of this interview is when he talks about what's next for Ukraine. He said essentially that Ukraine is coming apart at the seams, a civil war, and will devolve into a civil war where Ukrainians will, quote, be at each other's throats. He says that when this happens, it's game over. Ukraine will be a country ripped apart by itself, ripped in half by itself. But Arestovich has been telling the truth for years. In fact, a newly unearthed interview of Arestovich that I found fascinating this weekend, I wanted to share with you, confirming that a large-scale war with Russia was planned. He says this is Zelensky's top aide once again, saying that a large-scale war with Russia was planned by the Ukrainian regime, all with a goal of joining NATO at the end of the day. He said this in 2019. It's amazing. Watch this.
Если Украина получает выдачи в НАТО, то тогда мы можем говорить о каких-то сроках прекращения войны.
Нет, ни о каких сроках прекращения войны мы не будем говорить. Наоборот, это, скорее всего, подтолкнет крупные военные операции России против Украины. Потому что они должны нас будут просадить в инфраструктурном отношении и превратить здесь все в разваленную территорию для того, чтобы нас неохотно брали.
То есть Россия сможет пойти на прямую конфронтацию с НАТО?
Конечно, Россия, нет, не НАТО. Мы не успеем. Они должны это сделать до того, как мы вступим в НАТО, чтобы мы не были интересны НАТО. Перестали быть интересны, как разваленная территория. С вероятностью 99,9% наша цена за вступление в НАТО – это большая война с Россией. А если мы не вступим в НАТО, это поглощение России в течение 10-12 лет. Вот и вся вилка, в которой мы находимся. А теперь давайте выбирайте Зеленского.
Подождите, а теперь если поставить чашу на весу, а что лучше в таком случае?
Конечно, крупная война с Россией и переход в НАТО по результатам победы над Россией.
The coolest thing.
So think about that, right? We know that by provoking Russia, they're going to destroy us. Like I'm saying this, that's what he's telling you. If we provoke them, the Ukrainian regime provokes them, they're going to destroy us. Because if NATO keeps extending itself and NATO keeps provoking them, then they're not going to allow NATO to walk up to their door. And they knew it. He was calling it out.
Well, then think about he gave two scenarios and both of them end up with Russia absorbing Ukraine.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see how he thought that they could win and then join NATO as a shell of its former self.
Right. Well, of course, if you understand now, and this is what we're going to get to next here, is the idea of Ukraine being a shell of itself. It's a perfect staging ground, right? It's a testing ground for NATO weapons, and that's really what it is. It's an empty military base that they can use, and to the tanks now, because that's
it becomes an aircraft carrier right on the verge of Asia.
Right. So
on the border of Asia.
So to the tanks now, NATO and Ukraine want Germany to send them Leopard tanks. They only have a few hundred of them to begin with, not the 2,000 tanks that some people are saying they have. I saw military analysts this weekend in a ridiculous news clip saying they have thousands. Germany has thousands of them. They don't. And Germany looked like they were going to cave in on this and send these tanks. They decided not to. The Prime Minister of Poland says that he will set up a smaller coalition to hand over some of the tanks that they have. So listen to the brilliance of this. We've been covering Poland, right? So Poland has bought Leopard tanks from Germany, but they're not like the most up-to-date versions of them. They're like hand-me-down versions of the Leopard tanks. So Poland bought those from Germany. Now, Poland, which is broke and collapsing, is going to send their bought used Leopard tanks to Ukraine because Germany is not going to send new ones now to Ukraine. So they're going to unload. It's like cleaning out the warehouse.